some things. What?
I'm just
Out.
sorting some things out here. Out and about.
Out. You gotta love that Canadian accent, huh?
Yeah.
Out and about.
Okay. All right, everybody. Hello, hello. I'm assuming we'll have some more people joining us very shortly. Julie, I am so thrilled you are jumping right on it, saying that you have a win. So let's get started. I want to hear it. Let's go.
Okay. Can you hear?
Yes.
This is okay. So I have a really funny win that just happened yesterday. It was kind of out of the blue. During the first grouping of my first 5 air conversations, I didn't know what I was doing. And so I contacted this woman that had contacted me a couple of years ago, who's a professor out at Stanford. And she uses my book in her teaching. And I just thought, you know, she's harmless. I don't know her. Forget about it. So I just tried my air conversation on her. And last night, her son called me. And her son, I thought it was very funny. And her son called and he said that he said, we need you here. We want you here. He said, can we get your calendar out and let's see. And so I had to kind of backtrack to say, who are you and what are you talking about? And it just turns out that her son is the CEO of one of the top 3 most fast growing startups out in the Valley. And he was talking to his mom and his mom said, you should contact this woman. And so he did. So I just thought that was a really funny win because it kind of came around very like out of the blue. And, you know, it was just very strange. So anyway, we talked last night. We talked for about an hour last night. This morning, about, let's see, I guess it was about 10 o'clock our time, so it was 2 hours ago. And we did the paperwork, signed the contracts, and we're on.
Wow.
So that was just really out of the blue crazy.
Do they need anybody else?
Nice work, Julia. Oh my goodness. That's pretty cool.
But that came way back on my first grouping of air conversations.
Just never know
so
what can
cool.
happen when you take action, huh, Julia? That is awesome. I like the way you said, did you guys notice she said, she's harmless? Right? I assume you meant like, can't hurt to reach out to her, not intimidating. Well, look at what happened.
Exactly. I was so nervous during those air conversations. I mean, I had everything so scripted and I just thought, you know, I want to try the most harmless people first. So later she contacted.
Good job.
I love it. And that's a legit strategy too. Like talking to the people that you think will say yes. I think that's a great strategy, especially because once you get a few of those under your belt, obviously you get your confidence, but also then you have the social proof. Then you've got bookings in the calendar. You can say, hey, my November is full. My February is full. You know, it's really good. So definitely do that. Definitely reach out to the people you think might say yes first. Why make things harder for ourselves, right? Okay, Shaun, why don't you share next?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Interesting conversation Friday, going back and forth with emails from organizers of, I guess, a series of events for urban educators. And they had asked me to come to DC to speak for a small event that they were having for free. And so old Shaun would have shut that down and would not have even thought to engage with that and just give them a simple no. But I asked them to let's get on the phone and have a conversation, peel back the layers a little bit to find out a little bit more about the organization. They had done their research on me and were very interested. Discovered that this was one of a series of events that they were having leading to a larger event. And so I communicated to them more about my value and what I could bring to the larger event as opposed to the smaller one. And they, you know, getting the oohs and the ahs and things like that during the conversation and just kind of letting them know a little bit more about me and my personality and what they can expect for me to bring. And so we ended up going from, speaking for free to $7,500 for the main event that they're going to have in the spring.
Oh my gosh. I love that you said old Shaun would have said no, but I mean, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm curious, was there anything in particular in the conversation that helped shift it, like a phrase or something that people here could take away from that?
I was very intentional about communicating like value, and that I am a speaker that, once I'm there for the whole day. I remember in one of the modules kind of leveraging, beyond just a keynote, you have the opportunity for breakout sessions and workshops. So, that's going to give you more than just that 45 minutes, let's just say, that I'm on the stage.
Wow.
Fantastic.
And more so just kind of communicating my story. I think my story is a little bit unique as far as being an educator and a DJ and so forth in my experience. So kind of blending that into some of what they were looking for and some of the mission and the goals of the organization to help urban educators. And, they said it perfectly aligned with what they were trying to do. So I think all of those things just kind of helped the conversation go in the right direction.
Cool.
What a great share.
Thank you so much, Shaun. Great share. I don't know if anyone's going to want to go next, but who else can share with us some celebrations, learning, wins, progress that you've made? Yeah, Brad.
Hello.
Hi.
I just finished with a patient, so I got here a little bit late. I didn't hear any previous wins, but I just caught the end of what you said, Stephanie. I guess I have some shoes to fill. Since our last call, starting Friday, really, I've been doing my 5 money-making activities every day. In fact, I've made a shift in terms of how I set up my day. It's like, okay, well, that's like the first thing I need to plan for in my day. Because I'm using my planner, and that was like tasks I need to accomplish, right? But now I've started with, okay, what are the 5 money-making things I need to do tomorrow? And I probably need to do that first. So I'm on a little bit of a roll there, and so it feels good.
Way to go.
Brad, you have made your coaches very happy.
That is
Oh, that's a massive win. I definitely want you all to feel like you can share when you've just made the money-making activities a priority. That's so important. Thank you, Brad, for reinforcing that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I felt like, Stephanie knows all the backstory, but I just felt like I had to have everything perfect, and I had all these ducks in a row. And to some degree, I did have to have some things done before I could really put the pedal to the metal. But I just feel like I finally, I guess, turned the corner where everything is still not perfect, but it's good enough where I can at least start having money-making activities occurring.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, good, Brad. I look forward to hearing that win every call. Fantastic. All right. Maybe one other person want to share some win, celebration, learning, progress. Don't be shy. I'm going to just pick someone if you don't share. Wouldn't want that to happen, would you? Oh boy, now I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is and actually pick someone. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm picking Casey because it's your last call, Casey. So I want to hear from you what you've been working on. Oh, can't hear you. Oh no. Okay, who's going to rescue Casey and share something else with us?
A good one too.
I know.
Leslie raised her hand.
Yes, Leslie, love to hear from you.
If the audio works, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So I guess it was a learning, and spent a couple years trying to figure. I did kind of half-assed backwards. Like I created everything and then trying to figure out the message in the audience. And so I realized today, though, that I heard someone say, like, your work doesn't have to be a job, right? And so I was trying.
Can you talk closer to your mic, Leslie?
Sure. Yeah. Let me
Perfect. Thank you. So work doesn't have to be a job. That's what I heard.
So is this better or worse?
You're much quieter now.
Worse.
Worse. Some technical difficulties today.
Yeah, you know what? No, it's my computer.
We can hear you now, okay.
Okay. So anyhow, I've been trying to take a message like that was more of a humanity. I kept going, minister your business, minister your business. This is way too close for me to say. But so I realized today that like I had been shying away from corporate because my message, if it, a common word would be like the power behind authenticity, you know? So I just went, and I started writing down, and I think I have a way to sell it because it really does solve like most of the problems I've read that corporate industries have. I mean, you can spin it. I don't know. I feel good that like, I'm like, okay, I don't have to make this human message the prime moneymaker because I've been trying to do that for a long time. And I was blocking myself because I don't know, it just didn't seem to mesh. Did that make sense or no? I wasn't really planning to say this. I'm just coming out.
That's okay. Well, it sounds like you've looked at your message and your value and the results from a different angle. If I'm understanding correctly,
Yeah,
you've just
well,
kind of looked at it from a different angle. Mm-hmm.
Looked at it from a different angle and said, okay, like I can make money and charge because what I really quit work for was I just felt like I needed to be speaking. I'd seen to be able to do really well at that, natural. And I've been trying to do that with people who are hurting. And I'm like, who's the audience? And I thought, well, if I can make money with corporate and get this message out and make an impact there, then I can take like 1 day a week or whatever and do like pro bono stuff for where my heart is. So I think
yes.
with corporate, it's still what I know or what I feel is needed. It's still the same message, but I've been having issues because I get lost in the passion of it.
Mm-hmm.
And does that make sense?
Yeah, so you'll be able to kind of get funded by the corporate clients that you're still going to be able to make a great impact with, but also, then you have the time and the space and the money and the cash flow to do the pro bono work that maybe wouldn't have paid you, but where you're also going to be able to make a really big impact.
Right. Yeah, because where my heart goes, the associations, the places, I couldn't really find speaking platforms. Like they weren't, it would be nonprofits and groups for like, I don't know, people who are in transition. And
Well, I'm going to stop you, Leslie, just for a sec, because it is a bit hard to hear you. But it definitely sounds like something you're going to want to talk to me or Sarah about as well, just because maybe there's some opportunities even with the not-for-profits and stuff that you can have some opportunities.
Sorry, that was kind of, I just like uncovered this like 10 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it sounds really scattered, it's because it is right now. I just went.
Do us a favor, Leslie, if you would, and this is partly because I remember when you and I and Lois had our call, it was very hard to hear you, and that's still the case. So, Morgan, if you could reach out to Leslie and try to either you or Sam figure out how she can make an adjustment with her mic.
Yeah, you know what? It's my computer. I just have to use this.
Okay, so whatever you need to do, in order for us to serve you best, we need to be able to hear you. Real quick, the other thing is half of you are off video today. We understand there's going to be times where you can't be on video, but part of us helping you is bonding with you, and that it's so much more helpful. We feel so much more connected to you when you're on video. So we understand there's going to be exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, you should be coming to these calls on video. Thank you.
And we have two people on the phone. I'm assuming one of them is Marcia, and I don't know who the other one is. So if you can let us know who you are, then we know who we're talking to.
So the 706 area code is who, and just know that you're on mute.
Hey guys, it's Shanna.
Shanna,
Shanna, okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
I wrote in the chat that I'm driving from an appointment, so my phone won't let me do video when I'm driving.
Fair enough. Perfect. Thank you. And then the 434 area code.
And you're on mute as well.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Marcia.
Oh, hi.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. And finally, last thing, welcome back, Steve Wolf. Glad to have you back on the calls. Hopefully you'll be on video next time, but big wave. All right, shall we get into the question, Michael? We only have one today, so if you guys have a question, pop it in the chat, but remember that you can submit them at spfquestion.com ahead of time. Hopefully you'll take advantage of this. We show up every week, twice a week for these calls to be here to answer your questions, so we'd love to have questions to answer.
First one is from Martha, and then it looks like we do have one from Brad.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, that'll get us started. So Martha says, support on brand positioning. First round of research shows no other voice experts marketing in the corporate forums. There are a couple of private speech coaches that look like me on Google/YouTube, but I don't see any listed on the corporate speaking associations. Is the corporate market right for my expertise? So Martha, I don't want to assume, but are you asking the question because you don't see others doing this, that you're now unsure if the corporate market is the right market? Is that why you're asking the question?
Yes, exactly. This is sort of in preparation, module 2, in preparation for getting into the, the one sheet and the why hire. And the irony is I've already done some of this work at the corporate level, and just had, Stephanie knows this, working with Stephanie to prep for a meeting with Liberty Mutual's Women in Tech on public presentation skills. They reached out to me and said, we need help finding our voice. So the funny thing is, sort of like Julia, it's just kind of happening. But when I do the research into those, especially the trade associations, I don't see that specific focus. So that I just want to make sure before I move forward with what I thought was going to be my niche market that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, so good question. And I think we can answer this for you, Martha, and use it as a learning for everybody. So number one is to be careful. Doing the research is awesome and excellent and important. Mm-hmm. And we need to be careful not to place too much emphasis or decisions just on the research until we dive in, do our air conversations, etc. That's number one. Just, it's important, but it's not everything. Number two, it's how you view it. You could say, wow, there's nobody in this market. It must be a lousy market. I should not penetrate the corporate market. And or you could say, wow, nobody's in this market. What an awesome opportunity. I can own it. So it's how you view things. And then I think the fact that you're already getting some business means that there is some need there. I would suggest that there is, and not to let this affect you in a negative way, and to definitely do the work. It sounds like you and Stephanie has already strategized around this and go to that next level of research and learning. But I would not look at it as a negative. I would look at it more as a positive.
Oh, great. That's really helpful. Thank you. And I think the air conversations would be the next step. Do you agree on really digging in there and reaching out to people? Can you have an air conversation with a prospective customer? I mean, somebody just said, yes, you absolutely can. Julia just did it. But I already have been engaged by Liberty Mutual for their Women in Tech group. can I, as part of that first meeting with them, say, you know, I am looking to grow this part of my business and I'd invite your advice, insights, and recommendations? Or do I have to go in there as the expert?
No, just show them that you care, you really want to do a good job for them. That's actually a great opportunity to ask them. You know, we need to be careful, you guys, like even as experts or people of quality and knowledge, we still need to constantly learn. And our clients and our prospects absolutely know that. So they'll look at it as a good thing. You're doing your due diligence. You're really wanting to do a great job for them.
Mm-hmm.
You guys might recall the reverse marketing strategy is all about that premise, is using opportunities to further gain knowledge so that you can serve them in a higher and deeper way. So it's a great opportunity for you.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, and all air conversations are like shorter sales conversations, essentially, like without the pitch. Because in an air conversation, you're asking like what works, what's been working, what doesn't work, what are your problems right now, where are you looking for help, right? That's the air conversation. And then the sales conversation is and here's how I can help you with that. So you don't have to go to Liberty Mutual and say then bring yourself to some other level. You can literally just have your sales conversation and you will get tons of great information from them just by asking the questions we suggest that you ask about where are you now and where do you want to be? What's the gap? Why aren't you there yet? That's essentially the structure of the sales conversation. That's essentially the structure of an air conversation. And Amy wrote in the chat that she has a program called Speak Up, and Casey does something similar as well. So it might be also just about your languaging around it, like voice. Like I teach people how to use their voice instead of, you know, presentation skills or stage fright and things like that. So there might be just some different language around that. You can find some people doing it. At least something somewhat similar.
Yes, we did my husband and I worked on this together, and we did put in a lot of different things. We did find as I said, some people on Google who are absolutely doing that. And that sort of helped jump me when I was working with the Language Marketing Bank in One Sheet this morning. I think I'm starting to get some language around it. I just need to make sure that it appeals to the corporate environment.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, Martha, I have a friend and colleague. If you want to check him out, his name is Tom Henschel, Henschel. And his tagline his company name is Essential Communications. And his tagline is the look and sound of leadership. I don't know how congruent that is with what you're doing, but you might want to check him out if you want to reach out to him and use my name. I'm sure he'll take your call or respond to your email.
Awesome. That would be a great air conversation to have.
Cool.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Let's go to Brad. You have a question about article submissions. Maybe fill us in a little. What do you want to know?
It's pretty simple, my question, which is I've started the process of submitting, but it seems like I'm keep running into people wanting full article submissions in order to be even considered. So I was hoping Julia would maybe pipe in about her experience, because I know I'm using the template, right, that you guys have provided, short, sweet, to the point. But if I look at the submission guidelines, then I'm assuming that I should follow the submission guidelines. And if they say we need a full article for your pitch to be considered, I need to adhere to that. So I'm just wondering if anyone else has already been dabbling with this and if they have any insights on this, and do I just need to suck it up and write my article and then start pitching it?
Mm-hmm. Julia, did you have your articles written first?
No, I don't know from what your advice is, but in my experience, I would never, ever submit a full article because once it's out there, it's theirs, and they can sell it and often do sell it to other writers who probably won't credit you, especially if it's research-based. So I would recommend, what I have done, and that was recommended to me and it's worked very, very well, is go into the publication that you want and start searching for like the next, they usually lay out their topics for the year, or at least for 6 months, but usually for the year, the good journals do, for a year, and just look up on the top at the bar. It'll be like January and whatever the topic is, February, whatever the topic. So when you submit, just say, you know, I'm interested in submitting an article that's about X number of words for your March edition on the topic of whatever. And then they usually they'll get right back to you and say, oh, that'd be great. Can you send us either like 250 word or 500 to 600 word or 1,000 word, sort of like just a synopsis of key points you want to cover. And that's what.
Thanks, Julia.
I remember what you said, Julia, about them getting back to you and asking for like a 500 word description. So I have that ready to go. But I haven't really found too many editorial calendars to take advantage of your suggestion that are just out there front and center.
Well, obviously every place is going to be different, and Julia's in a different industry for sure. But are they, I'm just wondering, Brad, if like, are these mainstream places that, yeah, so it might be worth using, this is something I haven't seen people do, but you could try the prospecting in reverse strategy, reaching out to the person that you're submitting articles to, saying, hey, I'm writing an article for X, Y, and Z. Can I ask you to make sure that it's in line with your readers or something like that? You might be able to try that. They may or may not respond to you, but that could be a way to get in without having written the whole thing first.
Yeah. Another thing that you can do is, if you have a piece of work that's pretty lengthy, just like for a mainstream commercial trade publication, just contact them and just say, you know, I'm wondering if you'd be interested in an excerpt from, because a lot of times they're very interested in an excerpt from something that's specifically targeted to whatever their theme is for January, February, March, or April, or something like that. And just say, you know, I'd be happy to send you a 500 word, you know, summary of the content.
Mm-hmm.
But I would never ever submit a full piece.
You would never what, Julia?
I would never submit a full piece. Just do an excerpt,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
or a summary.
Yeah, and you can use language too, Brad. Like I would write something like an exclusive for your magazine or exclusive for this. Like you could say something like that if you want, or something custom or something specific to your audience. It'd be good to be able to repurpose it, but I don't know, just it's good to get in a couple places. Yeah, Gary?
Oh, I was going to mention to Brad, one trick that a writer, when I first started writing, he came up with. He wrote an article called 10 Hot Buttons for Psychologists. It was for a psychology magazine. And it was like things that got psychologists upset. And then he thought, he did a lot of work on that. So he wrote to like a nursing publication, 10 Hot Buttons for Nurses. It was the same hot buttons. Then 10 Hot Buttons for Ministers. Then 10 Hot Buttons for Construction Workers. And it was basically the same article written over and over. So you can, once you write one article, you can spin it off, just change it slightly and sell it over and over and over again to different trade publications.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, did you have something?
Yeah, if I may, I just want to be devil's advocate, I think, for a minute, and I might be totally missing something because I'm not an article expert at all. But if they request a full article, send them one. Who cares? What are they going to do? I mean, what is the big downside of that? I might be missing it. Like they're not gonna they're not going to, because you sent it to them, they don't have the rights to use it exclusively. So if they say, write it, send it to them, and send it to other people who request it. And if somebody publishes it, you're at least off to the races. Like, what's the worst that can happen? But again, I might be all wet. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Does that give you some stuff to go off of, Brad?
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We can't force people to respond to us, but you can follow up, and you can try a couple different avenues, and they are looking for content, so they will good stuff will get through, at least in a few places.
Yeah, that's a good way of wording it. They are looking for content.
Okay. Gary.
Looks
Go ahead,
like
Michael.
I'm sorry. Gary Gary is next, and it looks like the question is for you, Shaun. So making sure Shaun is paying attention. Shaun mentioned he emphasized his value to get the booking, and that included saying he'd be there all day and could do X, Y, and Z as well. Did he have X, Y, and Z set up and ready to go, or is this an example of start before you're ready? Shaun.
A little bit of both. Yeah, I have a couple of the workshops I already have in my back pocket, and one I'm working on creating, and so it'll definitely be ready by the spring. Hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. It was because I have nothing set up now, and I thought, boy, that's pretty bold to say, I'm going to do this and then all of this stuff. So I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I work pretty good under pressure, and so having that deadline will definitely make sure I get it done.
Yeah, congratulations.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that, Gary.
Sure.
And Gary, it doesn't have to be stuff that's all pre-prepared either. It can just be like, I will mingle with your attendees. I will MC the whatever, or it doesn't have to be like you have content made for the whole day. That's what David kind of talks about in the modules.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Randy?
To Shaun, I guess to this whole point, Shaun, you're taking your core message and expanding that to potentially be a 4-hour workshop to, in 45 or 90 minutes, you're giving him a snippet of what's possible. And in a half day, you're giving him a deeper dive on maybe just the first part of that. So Gary, as it relates to content development, I'm guessing, Shaun, that you're not developing anything new. You could be, I don't know. But you're just going deeper into how you put what your message is all about to practice.
Correct. And then depending on which way they want to go as far as which topic they want me to speak about will determine, of course, the direction that I go as far as the workshops and things. But yeah, essentially it's just going deeper with some exercises and things that they can do, and then hopefully come out of that with something going forward for some regular commitments and or interactions or other organizations.
So it's not such a daunting task, I guess, because that's kind of what I've done with this too, is that I take parts of what part of my main, I get stage message, if you will, and just break that down and go deeper into elements that you can't do in 45 or 60 minutes.
Exactly. Okay, so I think our last question is from Julia. She writes, a trivial pricing question. I've heard over and over that you should not use round numbers like 75,000, 25,000, because buyers will think you're pulling the number out of thin air. It's been suggested that specific numbers like 72,569 is better because buyers will think it's carefully spelled out. Thoughts on this? I'm a round number sort. Well, okay, I don't know the quote unquote right answer for this, Julia. I don't know what the psychological research says, but what I would say is, number one, it's your relationships and the value that's going to sell. don't know what the research says, but my guess would be that if you presented two numbers that were just like, if you split test it, my guess would be that as long as you're having a really good quality conversation with someone, the price is important in the sense that the general price is important, but I would say whether it ends in the number 9 or the number 5 or is $20 different, my guess would be that it would be less important than the quality of the conversation that you had and the fact that they're understanding the value of what you have to offer. I don't know if anyone's had a different experience. Michael, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, I just love the way you came at that, truly, because that's what it's all about. Like, and I like the way you said the general number. Like, let's say your number is 30,000, whether you quote 30,000 or 29,746. It's all about the relationship. They're not going to scrutinize a round number or a edgy, a crooked number. And in fact, if you do have a crooked number, that might prompt them to ask, where did this come from? And you want to make sure you have that. To me, that might magnify it even more. Like, why did this come out to 29? I'm just curious. Why did this come out to 29,276? You must be pretty meticulous about your pricing. So, but like Stephanie said, it's the relationship is what matters. That was nice.
Yeah. The other thing that my gut would tell me, Julia, is that the number is less confusing when it's a 0. And what I know is that if people are confused, they have a hard time buying. And I do think it might matter a lot more in smaller numbers. Like if you're charging 75,000 for something, I think it's going to be more confusing to make that a gibberish number. Whereas if you're charging like $997 for something, I do think, like, psychologically, I know that makes a difference. But or if you're like not over the 10,000 mark, if you can say it in hundreds as opposed to thousands, like if you like 9,500 as opposed to 10,000, I know psychologically like that makes sense. But when you're talking about numbers like 25,000, 75,000, my guess is it would be more confusing to use the many numbers. Martha just wrote, the president of New Hampshire Engineering Association prefers round numbers. I think our brains probably do prefer round numbers.
Is that a fact, Martha? They literally told you that that's what they prefer? That's interesting.
Yes, I was doing an air conversation with one of these, and I didn't know it was an air conversation at the time, but that's what I was doing. And because she was coaching with me privately, and then she said, your work is really needed in the corporate world, and I'd like to help you do that. And so we met to talk about it, and that was one thing she made a big point of, is that corporate people don't like those sort of catchy direct to consumer numbers. They just want to know clean and straight. What's the number? Give it to me straight. As many clear, clean, uncomplicated details, the better.
Interesting. That helpful, Julia?
Oh, you're still on mute.
You're on mute.
Because I'm just a round numbers person. I like to put 75,000 or 150,000 or whatever. But I've just been reading things, and I had a marketing global marketing VP who called me on it when I was quoting a price, and I think the price was like 160,000 or something, and he said, round numbers? He said, how do you fit all of that in? And then he asked for an itemized breakdown, which I was able to give, but it was also in round numbers. And so, I like to keep it just straight, simple, round numbers. So I'll just continue to do that. Thanks.
Very few people will do what that guy did, I think. But good question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Randy?
Is that a condition of the person that you're talking to and their assumption that it's fee for service type of, rather than selling the value as we've talked about a lot today, they're saying, well, for X number of hours that you're going to be here, what's your hourly rate, and how does that all calculate all to this other stuff? And that's definitely not what we're selling. Is you're selling expertise, and you're selling much more than $200 an hour for 25 hours or whatever the hell.
Yeah, and I would argue that your expertise, why would that end in a 2 or a 7 or something like. So I mean, the round numbers make sense, I think, on all of these fronts, frankly.
And I was just going to add a quick comment. I have a friend who's a sculptor, and he finished some bust, and somebody said, "How long did that take you to do it?" And he said, "It took me 2 weeks in 35 years."
Yeah.
And I think that same way about speaking. Well, why are you charging $7,500 for a 45-minute talk? Well, it's 45 minutes plus 30 years.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I heard a great parable that I won't say it perfect, but basically a kid walks up to Pablo Picasso and says, "Hey, could you draw me a quick little drawing just in 30 seconds?" And he does it, hands it to the kid and says, "That'll be $500,000. And the mother's like, "What? $500,000 for a 30-second picture?" And he said, "Yeah, it took me 50 years to get to the point where I could whip out that stick figure and have you actually want it." So this is something for us to remember. And I'm real glad you brought that up, Randy, about it's not our time, it's the value, and it's the return on investment. That's something for us to always remember. And we talk a lot about solving problems and bringing solutions, and people will pay more money for that than what they think they will, or times your hourly rate.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to someone yesterday in a call, and we were talking about where this fits in their budget, right? So remembering that this is a totally not related to Julia's question, just something I've been thinking about that I'd love to share with you guys, since we have a few minutes, is if you are showing up and you are kind of just like, they just want you to come and talk, and it's just, to help their employees or whatever, that's something that they might want to pay you a couple $100 for. But if you are actually able to move the needle in diversity, in communication, in marketing, in sales, in whatever, they have budget line items for that. They have massive budgets for sales and for marketing and for leadership and everything. So you don't want to be in the fun pile, because their budget is not that big for the fun pile. You want to be in their budget for something that has a return on investment, something they have big budgets for, something they're already spending money on. Then the numbers that we're talking about here make perfect sense, because you're giving them a value beyond just, killing half an hour over lunch, that sort of thing. So have a think about where your work fits into, which budget line item it's fitting into. And I think you'll see some more opportunities that maybe, if you're thinking small now, that might help you think a little bigger. Okay.
That's a real quick, Stephanie. That's good, because when you start thinking like that and your confidence level goes up, you'll start saying things to them like, "Well, borrow some money. Do you have any money in this line item? Go ahead and borrow some money over there. It'll be worth it." And they like that you're able to kind of talk those rudimentary P&L numbers and have the confidence to say, "Yeah, just move some money over. Let's talk about the return you'll get from that." So that's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Leslie asked is culture usually a budget? And I think it probably depends on the company, but I'm sure there are companies that have culture. It might be under leadership, it might be under a different name, but people are definitely spending big money on employee culture. It might be in HR, it might be in retention, it might be in that like recruiting. So culture might fall under a different spot, but it definitely, people pay for it. So okay, so guys, we got a couple things to wrap up for today. I would love, let's talk about what you guys have found valuable today. What are you taking away from today? Share with Michael and I, what's moved the needle for you today in our conversation. So let's hear from a couple of people. What have your ahas been? What have you been learning from the other people in the group today? I mean, I think everyone's been learning from Julia and and Shaun and Randy. So let's hear from a couple people. Yeah, Leslie. I think you're on mute.
And now can you hear me better?
Yeah.
On the phone.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So a lot of things were really impactful, but what you just said, like just something just clicked going, oh yeah, well I do desperate. It fits in culture. So thank you.
Good.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Good. Yeah, Randy.
I think just confirmation that it's ready, fire, aim.
Yeah, boy, is it ever.
It seems like a message we're getting week and week over and over. So between the fear, the perfectionism, ready, fire, aim, start before you're ready. It's a really important theme. Mm-hmm. Anyone else want to share?
Well, I find this all very good. I mean, when everybody pitches in, you go in and it's like sort of Forrest Gump. You know, you never know what you're going to get. And I've got my reporter's notebook, and I put stars next to everything that I have to go back to. I note the time when it happened so I can go back and revisit it and just let it sink in. Yeah, so this is great. I mean, I've just been writing down a whole bunch of stuff because every session and every laser call, and every time I go over the modules, it's like another penny drops, and you start to realize it. So I'm getting to the point now where you want to take it to the next level and, you know, start the outreach because you know what you've got, and you hear it from other people, that you get that confidence level. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you're out of the nest and you're making phone calls. And it's like, I think it was Julia who got the, $400,000 20-minute talk that she's going to be doing soon. So, that's really impressive. So thank you all.
20 minutes plus decades, right, Julia? I love it. And you guys, like, that's why these calls are so important. That's why we want you to show up on video. That's why we want you to participate and share, because you guys are learning so much from each other. Michael and I answer your questions, and we have the modules to rely on, but you guys have like hundreds of decades between all of you and the other people in the course, and people who come before and after you, and David in the Facebook group. Like, there's so much wealth of knowledge to be had here. So that's why I really like sharing the takeaways, because sometimes you know, maybe you heard it, but then when someone else reinforces it again and again and again, it's not like Michael and I are like, oh yeah, we did so great, let's hear all the things we did great today. It's not about that. It's about reinforcing the message. That's why we really stress this.
Yeah, and we don't care whether it comes from us or each other, right? Like I love that. Like, you guys are helping each other by asking questions, by giving your feedback. That's good. Good stuff.
Awesome. So one request I would love, if you guys would like to do this, I would really like to hear, what are you enjoying about these calls? Is there anything you'd like improved on these calls? I would love if you could email me, just Stephanie@doitmarketing.com. You don't write it in the chat. I just want to hear about it personally. But if you can let me know what you're finding valuable, what, not necessarily content-wise, but structure-wise, if there's anything you want to see done differently, or anything that's like amazing that you really love and want us to be doing more of. So if you can let us know, and that includes like the breakout rooms that we do sometimes, the format. We're always trying to make it better. So let us know what you're thinking, and we'll take it into consideration. So with that, we will bid you farewell for today, and we will see you on Tuesday. Any parting words, Michael?
Yes, we'll see him on Thursday.
Oh my God. Is today? Oh, you guys, I don't do well with days of the week.
You were technically correct. You will see us on Tuesday.
Yes, that is true. We will see you next on Thursday, but that's very good. We'll see.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. Well, look, I have so much happening today. Oh, maybe it is Thursday. I don't know. Okay. You guys have a great day. We'll see you later this week.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.